Thank you, sir. So, save for one final witness, last Thursday we reached the end of the live evidence being adduced as to the sale and delivery of knives and weapons to AR. And this is our brief presentation on the other evidence which the inquiry has obtained on that topic.
Thank you very much.
As we explained at the start of our first presentation in relation to the attack evidence, for each of the topic areas in our Phase 1 evidence, we intend to provide a brief public presentation on the other evidence made available to the inquiry. This will not and is not intended to cover all of the material that has been disclosed. Instead, we'll aim to provide an objective overview that makes public key statements and other key materials which have been received by the inquiry, but where the witness has not been called or the material has not yet been brought out in the public hearings. Unlike in an inquest, we will not be reading the evidence, but seeking to give a fair, high-level overview of it. And so in relation to the sale and delivery of knives and other weapons to AR, the inquiry intends to call one further witness within this topic, Mr. Nick Hunt, who is the head of the Firearms and Weapons Policy Unit within the Crime Directorate at the Home Office. Mr. Hunt will be called to give evidence at a later date within Phase 1, and so I will not deal with his evidence in this presentation. On the purchase of machetes, we have, sir, as you know, and for obvious reasons, deliberately focused on and called every witness in relation to the hunting and knives machete supply chain, because that purchase was not, it seems, age verified. Within this presentation, I will summarise briefly the other evidence received on the other two machete purchases, the machete and sharpening stone purchase from Springfields of Burton on the 10th of June 2023, and the machete purchase from Knife Warehouse on the 3rd of October 2023. In addition, I will then summarise the written evidence which the inquiry has obtained about two other purchases made by AR, namely seeds from the castor oil plant, who we obtained from Premier Seeds Direct Limited, that was the 19th of January 2022, and a sledgehammer from a seller on Amazon called Jim Bob's on the 10th of June 2023. So can I turn first to complete the evidential picture on the two machetes that appear to have been age verified. And I start with the Springfields of Burton machete and sharpening stone. That's the 10th of June 2023. So you will recall that Mr. Luke Bullock of Springfields gave evidence on Tuesday of last week. He addressed the machete and sharpening stone which AR ordered from Springfields on the 10th of June 2023, and that delivery was effected by the company DPD. At paragraph 49 of his witness statement, the reference is SPRB 14, Mr. Bullock explained that he was informed by the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit that when they were investigating the delivery with DPD, DPD had said that they had no record of the parcel being carried to AR's address at the time of the purchase. DPD have now produced a statement to this inquiry from Mr. Glyn Johnson, DPD 10, their head of security. At paragraph 12 of his statement, Mr. Johnson said that, quote, DPD has very easily been able to identify the information required by the inquiry team. We can only apologise and find it unacceptable that the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit was unable to ascertain a response from DPD, end quote. DPD have provided the inquiry with their record of the delivery, that's DPD 6. Mr. Johnson explains that DPD records show that the parcel was delivered on the 14th of June 2023 at 12:18 in the afternoon to 10 Old School Close Banks, obviously AR's home address. Mr. Johnson has identified the delivery driver and confirmed that the delivery address recipient had the name Alice, and that the email address associated the order was the a.megalania7@yahoo.com address about which we've heard. This was an email address used by AR. DPD have exhibited the photo taken as proof of delivery by the delivery driver, that's DPD 7, which shows the parcel in a doorway, as well as DPD's record of the delivery coordinates and Google Map location, which are at DPD 8. Mr. Johnson has confirmed on behalf of DPD that the name of the recipient taken by the driver on the delivery was REDACTED, RUDAKUBN, and that the delivery was age verified. Mr. Johnson has explained that DPD's proof of age process requires the delivery driver to verify that the recipient is over the age of 18, either visually or by checking their ID, and that whilst the person signing for the delivery must be over 18 years of age, they do not necessarily have to be the named recipient. That's DPD 9. DPD interviewed the delivery driver who had delivered AR's order. The reference for that is DPD 3. His recollection is of delivering the item to a black adult male who he thought was older than his own age of 46, who he described as having, quote, a terrible attitude. As this man, who it may be thought was likely to be AR's father, was obviously over 18, DPD explained that his ID did not need to be checked. That was in accordance with DPD's age-verified delivery policies. When AR's home address was searched, the this machete, and the sharpening stone, which AR had purchased from Springfields, were found on top of the wardrobe in AR's parents' bedroom. So they were in a sealed packaging with a delivery label which read Alice, and then the surname was given, 10 Old School Close, Banks. There are two references for that, MERP 1282 and MERP 2936 at page 23. In his statement to Merseyside Police after the attack, AR's father stated that he had signed for a parcel containing knives that was addressed to someone with a British-sounding name, and that he hid the parcel on top of the wardrobe despite AR asking for it. The reference for that is MERP 1060 at page 4. I turn next to the knife warehouse machete purchased on the 3rd of October 2023. So you will recall the evidence from Joseph Wheeler of Knife Warehouse, who also gave evidence on Tuesday of last week. He spoke to AR's purchase of the Black Panther machete on the 3rd of October 2023. That delivery was carried out by Royal Mail, and it was carried out using their age-verified delivery service. Royal Mail effected the delivery and have provided a witness statement from Mr. Macaulay, their UK operations director. The reference for that is RMG 16. Having interviewed the driver in question and examined the delivery data, Royal Mail have confirmed that a Royal Mail delivery driver delivered a parcel containing the machete purchase from Knife Warehouse to 10 Old School Close in Banks on the 6th of October 2023, and that parcel required age verification. Data from the Royal Mail's internal systems show that the item was marked as delivered over 25 with signature. That was done at 15:12 using their tracked 48-hour delivery service. The reference for that is RMG 2. They have disclosed to the inquiry the data captured on the delivery driver's digital system, which identifies the delivery driver. That's RMG 8. Mr. Macaulay has explained that they have been able to recover the year of birth entered on the system by the delivery driver for the recipient's age which was given as 1975. The reference for that is RNG 9. However, they have not been able to recover any photos taken by the delivery driver in relation to the delivery, because those photos are stored by a company called Mosaic, which only stores them for 12 months. The recipient's name was recorded as Olakunle, and the reference for that is RNG 8. When interviewed by Royal Mail, their delivery driver confirmed that he recognised an image of AR from press coverage after the attack and was certain that he had never delivered a parcel to AR. The driver recalled making a delivery to AR's address on one occasion, but could not recall whether the item was subject to age verification requirements. He recalled that on that occasion, the door was answered by a middle-aged black male of slight build and with short, cropped hair. Mr. Macaulay has confirmed that at the time of the delivery to AR's address, it had in place a standard operating procedure which set out the age verification process. The reference for that is RMG 10. In accordance with that process, when a driver arrived at a customer's address, the driver would scan a barcode on the parcel which would inform the driver whether age verification was required. If it was, the driver had to confirm that they were delivering to a customer at the delivery address, as opposed to leaving it with a neighbour or in a safe place, and they were then prompted to enter the year of birth of the recipient. If a recipient's given age was over 25, the driver would confirm on the system that they looked over 25. They would then be prompted to take a photo of the parcel when it was delivered. They would be directed to enter the recipient's name, and the customer would be asked to sign to accept delivery. If, on the other hand, the recipient looked under 25, the driver would be prompted to ask to see valid identification to confirm that they were over 18. A delivery would not be completed, and the item would not be handed to the recipient if the ID showed an incorrect year of birth was given by the customer, that the customer was under 18, or the customer was unable to provide identification. Mr. Macaulay has confirmed that Royal Mail believes that the age verification process was carried out by its driver in accordance with its standard operating procedure, because the recipient, who the Royal Mail believes was very likely to have been AR's father, was both over 18 and appeared over 25, so his age did not need to be challenged. I turn now to the two purchases made by AR, which we addressed in our opening, but about which we did not consider it proportionate to call oral evidence, although those purchases were touched on in the oral evidence you heard last week from Mr. Baumfrey of Amazon. On the 19th of January 2022, when he was 15 and a half, AR bought 150 seeds of a variety of the castor oil plant. It was those seeds which he used to make the crude preparation of ricin, for which AR was convicted of production of a biological toxin and sentenced to a concurrent term of 12 years. So AR bought those seeds from Premier Seeds Direct Limited through Amazon. Mr. Redman, the managing director of Premier Seeds Direct Limited, has provided a witness statement. The reference is Prem 2. Mr. Redman has explained that the order was placed on the 19th of January 2022, and once payment was confirmed through Amazon, the order would have been automatically pushed through to the Premier Seeds direct dispatch system, and it was then picked and dispatched second class by Royal Mail later the same day. The seeds were ordered in AR's own name, but the shipping address was in AR's father's name, and the address was the next door neighbours at number 8 Old School Close. The packaging for these seeds was found under the bed in AR's room. So you've heard evidence about the other purchases AR made around the same time as these seeds from Amazon, and about whether those purchases cumulatively ought to have raised a concern at Amazon. Looking solely at the seeds, we note that the sale of the seeds of the castor bean plant are not controlled by any specific legislation, and the plant itself is, as Mr. Redman of Premier Seeds has attested, widely grown for ornamental use. There was no requirement for Premier Seeds Direct to carry out any age checks, either at the point of purchase or delivery. In addition, in a different context, the castor beans may be used to make castor oil. As the law stood at the time, and indeed now, it does not appear, therefore, on the evidence received by the inquiry, that the sale of those seeds was inappropriate as regards Premier Seeds Direct, or that it was by itself inappropriate so far as Amazon was concerned. Mr. Redman has explained that Premier Seeds Direct has taken the decision to delist the bulk pack size that was purchased by AR, which contained some 150 seeds, and instead they've made the product only available in packets of 15 seeds. However, while they recognise that a further improvement they could make would be to restrict the quantity of seeds that it is possible to order within a single transaction, they have not gone so far as to implement that kind of a restriction. Turning to the sledgehammer, on the 10th of June 2023, the same day that he purchased the machete and the sharpening stone from Springfields, AR ordered a 2.7 kilogram sledgehammer through Amazon from a company called Jim Bob's. The inquiry has obtained a witness statement from the director of Jim Bob's Limited, a Mr. Robert Shaw. The reference for that is JIMB2. Mr. Shaw has confirmed that AR placed an order at 10:35 p.m. on the 10th of June 2023 for an Amtech sledgehammer. However, this order was cancelled by AR and a refund was issued. But shortly thereafter, he placed another order at 11:22 p.m. for the same item again. That order was completed. Due to the passage of time since the orders were placed, Mr. Shaw was unable to access any more information about the orders. Mr. Shaw has confirmed that a sledgehammer is not an age-restricted item in the UK, and so no age verification was required at the point of that purchase. So, sir, save for the evidence that you will hear in due course from Mr. Hunt on behalf of the Home Office, that concludes the evidence which we intend to adduce about the sale and delivery of weapons and knives to AR.
It's extremely useful, Mr. Moss. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
If we could call Mr. Bramall, please. Certainly.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bramall. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Scott.
May it please you, sir. Could you give your full name, please?
Andrew Bramhall.
And could we have up, please, Lank 30270? Is this your witness statement for the inquiry?
It is, yes.
And if we go, please, to page 9 of that. Beneath the redaction, you signed that on the 30th of July 2025.
I did, yes.
And is that statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
It is.
Could I start by just getting a little bit of background about your experience and your career and your role, Mr. Bramall? You were a police officer between 1992 and 2020.
I was.
You were a uniformed officer for your whole career, mostly working in the neighbourhood policing in the South Division of Lancashire Constabulary.
Yes.
You described that as covering Skelmersdale, Chorley, Bamber Bridge and Leyland. The South Division also, I think, covers Banks.
It does, yes.
You had a role in training other officers for some years.
I did.
And in 2011, you were promoted to sergeant and were in that rank until you retired in 2020.
Yes.
In December 2019, you were a sergeant in Lancashire Constabulary's community safety team.
Yes.
You describe that as a team which was engaged in trying to identify issues before they became problems.
Yes.
It was preventative working, in other words.
It was.
Do just try and keep your voice up, Mr. Bramall, so that we can all hear you.
Apologies.
Thank you. That work included work with children,
Yep.
and it was multi-agency work. You'd receive referrals from anyone and then work with schools, youth centres, social services, mental health and so on.
Yes.
At paragraph 9 in your witness statement, you give an example of a teenager who's referred to you with an interest in rock climbing. Presumably they've been referred to you because of some concern over their behaviour.
Yeah, I use that as an example. It could be an interest in anything that would divert them from.
But it's not the interest that leads to them being referred to you, it's a concern over them potentially being drawn into criminal or antisocial behaviour.
Yes.
And you would then try and identify what interests they might have and look to identify funding and opportunities for them to pursue a positive activity.
Yes.
With a view to trying to use that opportunity to bring them back onto, I think you described as the straight and narrow.
Yes.
As part of that work, would you attend multi-agency meetings on a relatively frequent basis?
Yeah, very often.
Could we have Lanc 30270 back up, please, on page 2? Paragraph 10 at the bottom of the page, you say, we didn't really have an operating manual. By that, do you mean there wasn't a written policy or document that governed how the community safety team worked?
No. I find my colleagues in different areas would operate slightly different than I would, but ultimately towards the same goal.
Was that a problem, not having a guiding document in terms of ensuring consistency of approach between different cases?
I'd say it more of an advantage because it gave us more of leeway to deal with things on a individual and bespoke nature.
Did it pose a challenge for new staff trying to get up to speed on how the team operated?
It would do, yeah. Perhaps they were used to being adhering to policy and procedure that were slightly different than what we were doing, which is trying to not use the law, but to work with people to try and get them away from crime.
Does the fact that there was no guiding document mean that the levels of risk that you were operating with, for example, what might be too serious for you or what might indeed not be serious enough, there wasn't anything for officers in your team to refer to tell what those were?
I think the guiding principle was, could we make a difference with this individual? Were they ready to work? Were they ready to change?
Do you think that some sort of guiding document, even if not a wholly prescriptive one, might in hindsight have been helpful for the team?
Possibly.
As a sergeant on the team, you were supervising the work of other officers?
Yeah.
How many officers were there within your team? Roughly, if you need to. I appreciate it some time ago.
Perhaps 15.
And I think in December 2019, one of those 15 or so was PC Paul Harrison.
It was, yes.
And you brought him onto the team quite recently because you thought he would be a good fit for it.
Yes.
What was that assessment based on?
He was experienced. I'd known him for a number of years. He was very personable. When he met people, it didn't take him many minutes to be able to build a rapport with him, which I felt was important.
And those are obviously important skills in the sort of preventative work that
Yeah.
you're engaged in. Can we look then at what PC Harrison was doing with AR's case in early December 2019? We're largely, I think, dependent on documents for this. You don't yourself have any particular independent recall of being told about what PC Harrison was doing.
When I saw the minutes of the meeting, no, I didn't remember it at all.
We'll come to the meeting in due course. Could we have Lank 4060 up, please? This is an email from Paul Harrison to Mrs. Jager at the Acorns, say on the 4th of December 2019. Do you see that?
I do, yeah.
It says, we've been made aware by Lucy Parkinson of Child and Family Wellbeing Service at the Grove in Burscough of the incidents and concerns regarding the above. You can see AR's name in the subject. As requested by Lucy, could you please refer this information to the MASH as a matter of urgency so it can be referred to the appropriate departments in the police and other agencies? So there's been contact between Child and Family Wellbeing Service with PC Harrison and the CST, and he is now going back to the school and asking the school to make a MASH referral. Why would they request for a MASH referral?
MASH is a multi-agency safeguarding hub, so it wasn't just one agency that would try to have a hand in and try to resolve the issue.
Yeah. But anyone can make a referral to the CST, is that right?
Yep.
Could this have been, it didn't need to come through the MASH to be allocated to the CST?
No, it didn't.
And when something was referred to you, there was work that you could do that didn't depend on things being referred to the MASH.
That's right.
Which is not to say, of course, that it wouldn't be helpful also for there to be a MASH referral so that, as you say, multiple agencies could be made aware of an issue.
Yeah.
Can we look to Lank 4097, please? And if we could have the lower email on that page enlarged. You can see this is the next day, 10 to 9 on the 5th of December, an email from Mrs. Lewis at the Acorns, thanking PC Harrison for his email and saying, I've already tried to refer this young person to the MASH on the 3rd of December 2019. I tried to contact Matt Tripchase and left a message for a call back for advice. I also sent an urgent email to MASH requesting advice and have had no response to the email as of yet. Please can you offer any further advice? And then asking him if he's attending a meeting about AR at 11:30 that day at Acorns. Is it concerning that the Acorns, as a pupil referral unit, was struggling to get access to the MASH?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Did you have difficulties working in the CST trying to get access to the MASH or make referrals into it?
No.
Did you find that this sort of request, saying, we've tried to refer somebody to the MASH but haven't been able to get anywhere, can you help, was a common sort of request to you?
Not really, no. It went, if a referral went in, it was received and
But,
dealt.
but something here clearly, I'm not saying that this is down to the community safety team, something here clearly is not quite right as regards the MASH picking up and processing this referral.
Something's not. I'm reading this as an IT issue rather than a refusal.
Thinking about the meeting that morning, we know from other evidence that this was a meeting at Acorns between the Child and Family Wellbeing Service from Lancashire County Council, the school and the AR's parents, and indeed AR himself attended part of it. Can we look at the email at the top of the page now? Can see there, first of all, he deals with the point about the MASH. I've forwarded your email to a contact, so I hope they will get in touch. And then says, P.S. I've been advised not to attend the meeting, as this info on the face of it is of a higher risk than community safety to deal with. Before I ask you about that, can we just look at PC Harrison's description of the information he'd been passed so we know what he was talking about? And that's in some later emails. Could we look at Lanc 30110, please? And if we could have the paragraph beginning, Acorns contacted, and those 3 paragraphs enlarged, please, in the middle of the page. Thank you. So this is, I think on the 16th of December, PC Harrison's description of what he was told. It says, Acorns contacted Child and Family Wellbeing due to some very concerning behaviour. Acorns divulged that AR had been accessing mass school shootings online at the school. He has an unhealthy obsession with guns. He draws disturbing pictures and talks about beheadings. He's been expelled from a school in Formby for taking a knife in. That's his description of the information he was told. And that's what he then says this information is of higher risk than for community safety to deal with. What he says in that email is, speaking to all the staff in my office and Sergeant Bramall, it was decided quite rightly that this info should not sit with us and should be sent to the Prevent team. The school duly sent off the relevant referral form to Prevent. In your witness statement, you describe recalling paragraph 22, sir, on page 5.
Thank you.
You describe asking a colleague who AR was around this time, having heard his name in the office, and someone, possibly PC Harrison, saying, he's not for us, Sarge, Prevent have him. There was clearly some sort of discussion in the office, whether that was PC Harrison approaching you for advice or you asking who he was and being told, not for us, Prevent have him. Is that fair?
To be fair, I don't remember this at all.
Do you think it's likely, given that this email says, speaking to all the staff in my office and Sergeant Bramall, it was decided that this should not sit with us, that PC Harrison would have consulted you about the level of risk and whether this was one for your team?
I think that's likely, yeah.
That would fit with him being quite a new member to the team as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think that's quite good? Well, first of all, do you stand by the view that this was a more serious risk than was appropriate for the community safety team to deal with?
Yeah.
Can you help us as to why?
We were more trying to resolve low-level crime, people that perhaps would get into more serious things. From the information I can see now, he'd already gone straight into quite serious matters. and his interests were well above us, what we could deal with. I feel that Prevent should at very least be involved in it.
Is there a risk of some somewhat black and white thinking here? It's either for us or it's for Prevent, rather than saying, well, actually, this is a potential risk. Prevent may need to be involved, but there may be a role for us as well.
My thinking is that if Prevent had ownership of it, they would have referred to us for some local work or asked us to do particular tasks.
Okay. Could we go back to your witness statement, please? Lank 30270, page 6. And if we could have paragraph 27 enlarged, please. This is your recollection of another case that was had involvement with Prevent, where you were on the CST team. And in that case, you say a member of the Prevent team contacted the CST office and spoke to one of my colleagues who agreed to remain in regular contact with this individual and refer to Prevent should any further concerns arise, which we did. That suggests something, again, perhaps a slightly more blended approach of both CST and Prevent having an interest in the same person at the same time.
Yep.
Do you think, therefore, that in AR's case, even though this was a case that you knew had been referred to Prevent by the Acorns from quite early in December, CST could in fact still have retained an interest in?
I felt overall control should have been with Prevent, but I felt reassured that from my previous involvement that had there been some work for us to do, they would have asked us and would have helped where we could.
Was there any other team other than Prevent who might deal with cases that were higher risk than were for CST to deal with?
I'm not aware of any.
In terms of general practice, when somebody comes to CST's attention, would it have been normal to carry out checks on Lancashire Force systems for any information relating to them?
It would, yeah.
We know that as at 3rd, 4th, 5th of December, when AR comes to PC Harrison's attention, there was still an open vulnerable child investigation following contact with Lancashire Police on the 7th of October 2019. That was an incident where AR had admitted to carrying a knife into school on multiple occasions. Would that have been the sort of information that was relevant to CST?
It would.
Could we look at Lank 000104, please? This is an email sent by, the lower email, is an email sent by PC Harrison on the 11th of December. This is just after AR has been arrested in respect of the incident at the Range High School. And he gives a summary to a Merseyside officer of what he knows. And he says, the school were reporting very concerning traits and behaviour from AR. They explained that AR had been expelled from the Range School in Formby due to carrying knives in the school. Exact details unknown. Does it surprise you that, given that there was a log on Lancashire Force systems in relation to this incident, and one that had in fact still been open when AR first came to CST's attention, that by the 11th of December, exact details of that were still said to be unknown?
I'm sorry, unknown by who?
Well, they were unknown to PC Harrison, weren't they? That's what he says.
Okay, sorry, what was the question again?
It seems that the details of what had happened in October 2019, which were available on Lancashire Force systems, were unknown to PC Harrison on the 11th of December. Is that right? From this email. I appreciate you weren't a party to this email, Mr. Bramall. I'm just asking. The email says AR had been expelled from the Range School in Formby due to carrying knives into the school. Exact details unknown. So it seems that PC Harrison wasn't aware of those details, was he?
Just going off the email,
Yes.
it would appear so.
And does that surprise you, given that information about that was on the Lancashire Force System Connect?
If he was taking knives into school in Merseyside, it wouldn't be on Lancashire system.
Well, we know it had been reported to Lancashire and it was on the Lancashire system. So if a check had been carried out on AR, you would have expected that not to be exact details unknown, but to be, these are the details we know about it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if it wasn't Connect, then it would have been searchable.
Might you also expect a CST officer dealing with a new case or a new referral or someone who's come to their attention to approach an officer who's dealt with that individual previously?
Yeah.
We know that PC McNamee had dealt with AR in October 2019. It doesn't appear that there was contact with him saying, for example, what can you tell us about AR?
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Could we look, please, to Lanc 4098? I just want to follow the MASH referral through. I'm trying to keep things broadly in a chronological sequence. We saw that PC Harrison said that he'd forwarded the Acorns email to a contact in the MASH. This is that forwarding. In the bottom email, the lower email, hi Matt, this is the email I received from Acorns this morning. I know it's not your area. Could you direct this email to the right place and ensure someone gets back to them? It's high risk. And then the email at the top, 5th of December 2019 at 5:21 p.m. Hi Paul, sorry I forgot to reply this morning. Forwarded your email on to Jennifer Ashton from the MASH education team. Same as Matt Chipchase, she will be able to advise school. Matt has not been in contact with school as he's off work at the moment. School should have contacted the MASH education team rather than directed to Matt. In relation to the referral, there was no trace of this in MASH. Sorry for the delay in replying. PC Harrison clearly doing his best here to make sure this gets to the right place. And no doubt that's helpful. Is it fair to say that reliance on these sorts of personal contacts is not really how the MASH is supposed to work.
No, it's supposed to be submitted, go through all the proper processes.
And we spoke about the meeting that Acorns were arranging for the 5th of December, which PC Harrison said he wouldn't be attending as this was higher risk. That meeting took place without police attendance. The conclusion of it was that there would be a prevent referral. We've spoken a little about that already, but also a referral to what's called police early action. Is that another name for the CST?
Yeah.
And that then seems to have led, if we could have Lanc 4099, that then seems to have led to PC Harrison seeking a further meeting on the 6th of December. Hi Jan, I could do with coming to have a chat this morning about AR. Would you be available? And then also attending a meeting with Acorns staff that day. LCC 30235, please, page 6. That's not, sorry, one moment. Check. That's a bad reference, don't worry. I don't think we have that document available, that's my fault. But it's a record that shows that PC Harrison attended a meeting that day with Acorns, so on the 6th of December. And he was subsequently invited, if we could have Lanc 30100, with which I hope we'll have some better luck. And if we could look at the bottom email on that page, this is on the 10th of December, so as well as a meeting on the 6th of December, we can see that on the 10th of December, PC Harrison is making arrangements for a further meeting later that week, looking to come into Acorns to prepare for that meeting. Is it fair to say then that whatever initial concerns there may have been about AR being too high risk for us, they seem to have softened somewhat, and PC Harrison is staying involved, attending meetings about AR?
My understanding is that until there's been a firm handover to prevent, then we should keep involved and keep abreast. As I mentioned earlier on, we may have needed to do some light touch involvement with him.
Everything then is rather overtaken by events on the morning of the 11th of December, when AR attends the Range High School and assaults another pupil with a hockey stick. He also has a knife in his rucksack, and he's arrested, as you'll be aware, by Merseyside police officers. I think Lancashire Force Control Room were informed about what had happened, but in fact we also, if we look at the top of this email that we have on the screen now, can see that the Acorns informed PC Harrison direct at just after 11:30, sorry, just before 10:30 that morning. you see that?
I do, yeah.
Which number is that document?
That is Lanc 100.
Thank you very much.
And we don't need to bring it up, but for your notes, Lanc 239 shows Acorns also trying to make telephone contact with PC Harrison the same day.
Thank you very much.
And PC Harrison then acts as something of a conduit for information between Merseyside Police, Counter-Terrorism Policing North West, to whom he knows a prevent referral has been made, throughout the 11th and 12th of December. Is that fair?
It would appear so from the documents I've seen.
And if we could just look at some of those documents, we have Lanc 30104, page 3. This is an email to an officer in Merseyside Police. It begins, "Hi Tara," and we know that that's a custody sergeant in Merseyside. And it provides something of an update about what CST know about AR. And then if we could go to Lanc 30105, please. Sorry, could we take that down, please? Okay, I'm just going to deal with that in a different way, please. I'm just going to, we'll make sure that that is available. But what happens at that point is that email sent to Tara is forwarded to PC Thompson in CTP Northwest. He tries to put her in touch with the custody sergeant, and then is also put in touch with Officer B, and in turn links that officer in with the investigation team in Merseyside Police. I appreciate you can't see the document, but will you take it from me? That's what it shows.
Yep.
And there is then an email that is sent by a detective sergeant in Merseyside to a number of different officers, including PC Harrison, with an update on the 12th of December. Again, if we could not bring it up, please, but Lanc 30106, providing an update on developments with AR while he's been in custody.
Okay.
Can we look then at Lanc 30107? Sorry, can we take that down, please? Sir, could I ask you to rise for 5 minutes?
Certainly. Mr. Goss, can I just say, so that it's on the record, that because of the small technical hitch that we encountered just before I rose, it is going to be necessary, certainly for a period, to interrupt the broadcast of these proceedings so that we can rectify the consequences of that technical hitch. The broadcast will be resumed once that has happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the time. Could we go back then, please, to Lanc 30107? Thank you. This records an email between PC Harrison and Anna Jameson of Lancashire County Council Children's Social Care, CSC. And it's on the 13th of December 2019. Hi Anna, I went to visit AR's address today. I think the only record of this visit to the address that we have is in emails. You're nodding your head. It says, only said hello to AR briefly, as I'm not allowed to get involved in the investigation. And of course, by this point, there was a criminal investigation being led by Merseyside. I spoke to Mum Letitia, who assured me that AR would be supervised all the time by her or Dad. I informed them that if he managed to give them the slip, she should phone the police. I got the impression they're still in denial over how serious this actually is, and it then gives details for the contact in Prevent. Helpful, no doubt, he then finishes, any news on the meeting, and we'll come to that meeting in a moment. Helpful, no doubt, though it is, that PC Harrison was passing this information on to Miss Jameson, who was now the lead from Children's Social Care for AR. Should all of this information, these visits, these emails, have been recorded somewhere centrally?
Yes.
Would cases that CST was involved in ordinarily have had some sort of log or record on Lancashire systems?
Yeah.
Would that be a vulnerable child log on Connect?
Connect.
Some sort of log on Connect?
Yeah, it was multifaceted. You could use it for putting, for example, a custody record, a crime investigation, that kind of thing.
We've seen vulnerable child investigations on there, or vulnerable adult investigations. Would that be the sort of thing you might use?
Yes.
If there had been such a log, such a record on Connect, that would have ensured that all of this information that is coming to and from and through PC Harrison was recorded in one place and available for other officers in future, wouldn't it? That would have included, for example, the fact that there had been a Prevent referral for AR. You would have expected that to be recorded on that log.
At least a note of it, whether it was the referral itself.
Yes, so a note that there had been a referral, perhaps not the actual text of the referral.
Yep.
There wasn't any such record created in this case, was there?
Clearly at the time I thought there was, because I've asked Paul in an email to update Connect with the minutes of the strategy meeting.
Yeah, that's a couple of months further down the line, but yes, we may come to that. You thought there was, but in fact, there's not been any such record located, has there?
I don't know.
Do you think the absence of an operating manual might have been a factor here? There was nothing telling somebody new to CST that the work they're doing needs to be recorded on false systems.
It was practice for us to record of all our cases on open a Connect case and record everything on it. I don't know why Paul hasn't.
Can we come then to the strategy meeting? Lanc 4054, please. You're one of the addressees for this, and we can see this is an email from Ms Jameson on the 13th of December 2019, inviting you and a number of others to a strategy meeting in respect of AR's family.
Yep.
That's come to you on a Friday at about 3:45 in the afternoon for a meeting on the Tuesday morning. Was that a normal sort of period of notice for one of these meetings?
It's not unusual.
Would that give you sufficient time, including over the weekend, to prepare for that meeting?
I don't think I opened that email until the Monday morning.
You wouldn't have picked it up till the Monday morning?
I replied on the Monday morning.
It was, I think, routine for a sergeant to attend these kinds of meetings.
Yep.
Part of making sure that there's sufficiently senior representation there, that decisions can be made effectively.
Yep.
You don't, I think, recall the meeting. You make that very clear, paragraph 14 of your witness statement, page 4.
Nope.
But you did attend it with PC Harrison.
Yep.
In terms of preparation for that meeting, I think you may have relied quite heavily on PC Harrison's involvement with the case. Was that normal and appropriate for you as the senior representative going?
Yeah, he would have had fine detail of the case rather than just a summary that I might have picked up from elsewhere.
What steps do you take as a participant, as the senior participant from Lancashire Constabulary in this meeting, to gain information about AR before attending?
I would have been heavily reliant on Paul. I don't believe I did any research myself.
Would there have been any steps, or would you have expected PC Harrison to take any steps to get up-to-date information from other agencies, or was that the purpose of the meeting?
Yeah, he'd been involved from what I see now right up to this meeting, so was quite abreast of the situation.
Paragraph 21 of your witness statement, you say you can't recall what you were aware of about AR's history or background prior to the meeting. Do you think you would have had some sort of briefing at the time from PC Harrison?
From what I've read now on the emails, clearly I did have some knowledge of it, and I'd have been able to get clarification from PC Harrison should I needed it.
Can we look at Lanc 30110? This is an email we've looked at already. It's from PC Harrison on the 16th of December, so the day before the strategy meeting. And it sets out PC Harrison's thoughts on the case. Is it likely that this would have been the sort of information he would have been briefing you on that day or perhaps the following morning?
Yep.
Before the strategy meeting? It's an email, I think, to Inspector or possibly Chief Inspector Dixon. Can you just help us with who she was?
Inspector Dixon was my line manager.
And he, again, we've looked at some of the details of this already, sets out the information he'd received from Child and Family Wellbeing Service and from the Acorns, sets out the fact that there had been a prevent referral, sets out the contact he's made with various individuals, including the custody office in Merseyside, sets out that he's been contacted by the custody mental health nurse, gave them information, that's Miss Halloran. And then he, if we could go over the page, please. He notes the fact that he visited the home address to discuss safeguarding with the family. His parents are alarmingly playing the situation and his behaviour down. And then mentions that he's attending a strategy meeting tomorrow. And he finishes, "Nobody told me I would be dealing with terrorists." And then a large number of exclamation marks. Can we take it then that the view that you would have been likely briefed on by PC Harrison was to the effect, I think he's a terrorist.
That and the fact that Prevent were interested in him would have made me think that he had that kind of leaning.
It may be that that number of exclamation marks indicates that this is slightly tongue-in-cheek, but certainly it is flagging a clear view that this is a case where potentially terrorism is an issue and Prevent are involved.
Yeah.
And then could we look, please, at Lanc 30109? This is an email from PC Thompson in CTP Northwest, Prevent, to PC Harrison on the morning 7:07 of 17th of December 2019. Good morning. I will be attending a strategy meeting at 10 a.m. this morning, and AR will be coming to Prevent. Do you think it's likely that that email, a few hours before the strategy meeting, would have been drawn to your attention before you attended that meeting?
If Paul had picked that up, he would have reassured me that Prevent were taking ownership.
Thank you. That can come down, please. You and PC Harrison were the only attendees at that meeting from Lancashire Constabulary.
Yep.
It was your responsibility, therefore, to bring all relevant information from the force to that meeting.
Yep.
We've talked about the 7th of October call, AR carrying knives at the Range High School, that was on Connect, but that it didn't seem PC Harrison had all the details of. Do you think that you and PC Harrison, between you, without knowing full details of that incident, were in a position to bring all the relevant information from Lancashire to that meeting?
The Range High School is Merseyside, and Merseyside officers were attending the meeting, so they had more relevant information than we did. It was their information that we were privy to.
The range was in Merseyside, and certainly for the incident on the 11th of December, Merseyside had the lead on it. But for the one in October 2019, that had been recorded on a Lancashire system by PC McNamee.
Yeah.
That information doesn't seem to have been something that you and PC Harrison had made yourselves aware of prior to this meeting. Is that fair?
It's fair, yeah.
Your role, I think, and you say this at paragraph 24 of your statement, at a strategy meeting was to listen to the issues raised and discuss solutions or interventions, and I think that would lead to the setting and allocation of tasks with deadlines for each agency. Is that a fair summary? Had you considered before the meeting what sort of things might fall out of it as regards the risk posed by AR?
I would imagine it'd be reasonable to assume that Prevented would ask us to do some work.
For the meeting itself, you're dependent on the minutes of it. You've got no independent recollection of it now. Can we have those minutes then, please? Lanc 504. Given that you're dependent on the minutes, have you reviewed those carefully as part of preparing to give evidence today?
Yep.
And as part of preparing your witness statement?
Yep.
If we could go to the second page, please. We've got the list of attendees. We can see that both you're there as Community Safety Sergeant in the middle, and then PC Harrison, Community Safety Officer, second from the bottom. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we have PC Thompson, which is down as being from the Police Early Action Team. As you said, that's another name for your team. In fact, she's from Prevent.
Yeah.
And you considered that Prevent were the lead agency for this by this stage, didn't you?
Yep.
It wasn't Prevent chairing this meeting, was it?
No.
And if we could go to the third page, please. We can see that the meeting is opened by Matt, who I think is from Children's Social Care.
I believe so, yeah.
The first update is then from DC Murphy, the investigating officer with Merseyside.
Yep.
And then the next page, please. We then have an update from Stephanie Halloran at the Criminal Justice Liaison and Diversion Mental Health Team.
Yep.
And then from the Range High School, there's a number of different agencies contribute before Prevent do. Is that right?
Yep.
And if we go to the next page, please. In fact, if we could go to page 6. At the bottom of the page, we get the contribution from PC Thompson. Carmen Thompson from Prevent identified that she will be completing an assessment regarding AR and considering if a referral to Channel programme would be appropriate for him. And then looking at the next page, on the agreed actions, Prevent team to commence initial assessment. There's nothing in these minutes that say anything as clear as Preventer to be the lead agency, is there?
Not on these minutes, but from the email to PC Harrison. That's where we were.
It doesn't sound from this meeting as a whole as though Prevent have taken ownership of AR, does it? They're conducting what they describe as an initial assessment.
Not the wording of these minutes, no.
And this meeting took place after that email from that morning, didn't it?
Yeah.
You would have... It supersedes that email, doesn't it?
Well, the email was sent at 7 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it,
Yeah.
prior to this?
Yes, and this was then later on the same day.
Yeah.
So even if the email first thing in the morning has given the clear impression he is coming to Prevent, you now, having met with PC Thompson, know that in fact what is happening is it's an initial assessment to see if he's appropriate.
I can't remember, sorry.
Given that you're dependent on the documents and you studied these minutes carefully, can you help us with why your statement is so adamant that Prevent are to be the lead agency and have taken ownership of AR, when what they were saying in the strategy meeting is they're to commence an initial assessment?
I was still under the impression that Prevent were ownership, and how I'm reading this is that this is part of their process of taking ownership.
Do you think it was clear to everyone in the meeting that Prevent were to be the lead agency and had ownership of this?
I couldn't say, in all honesty.
Can we turn to some of the other content of the meeting? Could we go back to page 4, please? I just want to look at some of the information that's been shared between agencies in that meeting. At the top of the page, first full paragraph, Merseyside Police share that there were some concerns of the interview where he'd laugh at inappropriate times. There wasn't really any challenge from his mother, who was present as appropriate adult. And then also, the next paragraph down, there's the fact that he'd approached the victim's sister the day before, called her an unpleasant name via Instagram. You have the update from Ms. Halloran, which includes, he said he'd intended to kill his victim and would have done so if he'd found him. She advised he showed no remorse. Further observation on the parents. Mum has generally been very quiet. Dad was dismissive when police contacted him to say that AR needed a parent with him. Stated he couldn't get there as he was busy. Could look at the bottom of this page, please. Range High School talk about him being challenging and inappropriate, and some things he said to teachers and children alike. When challenged, doesn't accept any responsibility, will basically argue even in the face of evidence to the contrary. And then the next page, please. If we could, first of all, it covers, towards the top of the page, the issue in the range where AR had been bringing a knife into school, 10 occasions. And then there is a further update at the bottom from Acorns, his current school, saying he's begun to display strange behaviours, creating issues with other children, occasionally fixating on staff members. Been issues within Acorns where he's used the school computers to research school shootings, etc. He's suggested that he's disclosed that in his opinion, that should perhaps be, he's been bullied. However, this has not been evidenced when school have looked into this. And then on page 6, please, it talks about the update from Early Help. Talks about AR being quite a force in the household, appearing to dominate discussion and at times shout down his parents. And then at the very bottom of that page, concerns summarised and discussion held regarding risk of significant harm. It was agreed that there is a risk of reoffending from AR. However, at this point, based on the interaction so far, there's no evidence that the children, that's AR and his brother, are presently at risk of serious harm. Do you think that in the round, the information shared and discussed at that meeting revealed a high risk of harm to others from AR?
Yeah.
Looking at the way that the paragraph we've just looked at, in fact, we could go one page further on because we have the reasons for decisions. No evidence at this time that either child is at risk of significant harm. Acknowledged need for multi-agency support and assessment on various areas of need and a level of risk based on AR's offending. As such, a follow-up strategy meeting will take place to consider the risks to the children and further plan the assessment. Do you think there was a focus within the meeting on identifying risks of harm to AR rather than from him?
Just looking at the minutes of this meeting, I think there was probably a bias towards harm to them rather than from them, but I think it was covered.
There doesn't appear to be any record of input from you or PC Harrison in this meeting, does there? Could we look at Lank 30116? This is another email from PC Harrison to Inspector Dixon. This one from quite some time later, 7th of August 2020. It seems to be some form of record of this for a case file or an assessment, but it sets out some of the details. And then if we could go down, please. Further down, please. Thank you. There's a short description from PC Harrison of this meeting, where he says the social workers were keen for AR to return to schooling at Acorns, who resisted, and I spoke up for them at the meeting, stating it wasn't safe to do so, and this was finally agreed. So that would suggest that there may have been some contribution from PC Harrison, albeit that it's only recorded in August 2020.
Yeah, that's what I'm picking up from the email.
Do you don't have any recollection of that yourself? You're shaking your head to indicate no.
No, sorry.
Just for the transcript. Mr.
Yep.
Brown. Other than that possible contribution, can you help us with why there wasn't any contribution from the police force for the area where AR lived and where he was now attending school?
I can't remember the meeting, so whether it was said and not recorded, I don't know.
Do you think that that suggests there may have been a failure by you and PC Harrison to really engage with the purpose of this meeting?
Not really, no.
The community safety team really ought to have had a role in these circumstances, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
But from your perspective, it was Prevent who were the lead agency, and that meant no ongoing role for you unless they specifically asked. Is that a fair characterisation?
Yep.
I think in your statement you also refer to considering that Merseyside Police, as the investigating agency, had a role given both the ongoing investigation and the bail conditions they'd imposed. That those bail conditions would only last for the duration of the investigation, wouldn't they?
Yep.
When it comes to, if I can put it this way, small p preventative policing, would it not normally be for the force where somebody lives to take the lead on that?
On normal circumstances, yeah.
And in this case, though, it wasn't normal circumstances because of the large P Prevent involvement, is that?
Yep.
After that meeting, there were no actions for Lancashire Constabulary, and I think you were informed of Lanc 000135 by Ms Jameson that you didn't need to attend the follow-up meeting. You can see here an email to you. Hi Andy, thanks to you and Paul coming on Monday. I've not sent you or Paul an invite to the next one, given there's no further role for your agency. I just wanted to say thanks for coming. See that on the 19th of December. And it's above an invitation to the follow-up meeting on the 6th of January.
Yep.
There was, though, still further action by PC Harrison in that he kept on putting people in contact with each other, providing updates about the criminal investigation, and I think at one point also received, if we could have Lanc 30111, he has forwarded to him an attachment described as chronology of AR at the Acorns School. We don't need to bring it up, sir, but the attachment itself is at Lanc 30235.
Thank you.
And that is 2 days after the statutory meeting.
Yep.
So although there may be no further role at the strategy meeting, PC Harrison does seem to retain some involvement with AR's case after that meeting. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would have expected to do with his ongoing support with the school and Children and Family Wellbeing Service.
If a case was found not to be appropriate for Prevent or for Channel, would you expect the case to come back to you?
Potentially.
Would that be directly from Prevent, or would that be via referral from another agency, or perhaps another multi-agency meeting?
I've not come across this before, so I wouldn't know.
Do you think in hindsight that perhaps you should have pushed back on the suggestion that there was no further CST role and said, actually, we are interested in staying involved, we'd like to attend the further meeting, even though there's no actions for us?
I would have expected to be invited if there was felt that we had something to contribute. What I would be worried about is stepping on another agency's toes and getting in the way.
Pushing back and saying, actually, we would quite like to attend, it's unlikely to be seen as treading on toes. If you're holding a watching brief, make sure you know what's going on with the case.
Well, that could have happened.
It would, to some degree, have represented you taking ownership of the fact that there was someone displaying obviously high-risk behaviour in your force area, even if you weren't going to be the lead agency.
Like I said, we could have said that.
Because when it did come to the 6th of January meeting, the view from Prevent at that stage was it's not felt that he has any issues regarding the Channel Prevent programme, no concerns that he was being led into criminality or radicalised. But the wider view of the meeting was that there was a risk to AR of further criminality. Again, we don't need to bring it up, but it's LCC 4023. In those circumstances where Prevent have said it's not for them, but there is a risk of further criminality, is that not exactly the sort of space that the CST would expect to operate in?
Potentially.
But since you weren't at that meeting, it would have had to have been referred back to you by someone who was.
Yep.
And it's fair, Mr. Bramall, to put this in its wider context. By February 2020, AR had been charged with criminal offences, and those in due course led to him being open to the local youth offending service, which was an organisation you work alongside.
Yep.
And to some degree, no doubt, there's a degree of overlap between the kind of support you could offer and that they could offer.
They tended to do their own work, so we didn't have an overlap of that.
But there were, at the very least, opportunities further down the line for you to be re-engaged if somebody else had thought that appropriate.
Yeah.
Could we have Lanc 30194 up, please? This is an email from you to PC McNamee after the strategy meeting. By this point, thank you. By this point, clearly you've become aware of the October referral on Connect.
Yep.
Because you refer to him putting it on there.
Yep.
And you're reassuring him that he's done the right thing.
Yep.
The way you've expressed that, as you say, you did exactly the right thing by inputting a PVP, that's a protecting vulnerable people. It's an old phrase for the referral form.
Yep.
On Connect that was then shared with other agencies. AR has since gone to his old school in Southport and committed a serious offence. Due to your timely PVP, the finger of blame will not be pointed in your direction. It might be thought that's slightly cold reassurance. The finger of blame is going to point at somebody, but just not him. Is that fair?
it's perhaps a poorly written email. What I intended to say was to reassure him. He was a new in-service officer, so I just wanted to reassure him he's done well, keep him updated, and I know from experience that when you're young in service, you tend to think that people will blame you, whether it's your fault or not. So I just really wanted to reassure him, so perhaps badly worded.
I mean, there's no doubt that putting a high-risk vulnerable child referral, or PVP, onto the system in October 2019 was the right thing to do, and the desire to reassure him entirely understandable. Given that that referral had been put on there in October 2019, was it concerning to you as someone involved in preventative policing that almost exactly the thing that was being warned about in October had come to pass 2 months later?
It was concerning, yeah.
Despite that referral, whatever interventions there may have been simply haven't been effective.
As I say, as I was saying, the referral had gone to prevent, and that's where I understood it. It remained.
Did you frequently have issues where matters were referred to the MASH and then it appeared as though, in fact, nothing was really done about it?
Not that I recall.
Is there a degree of thinking in this email of, so long as you submit a PVP form, it's fine, someone else will own the risk?
No, I don't think so. I think Alex, PC McNamee, had done what he should have done at the time, and it would then be picked up by somebody that could spend the appropriate amount of time. It wouldn't be for a response officer who's rushing from job to job to try and take a long-term care of this individual.
All right, that can come down now, thank you. Could we go back to your witness statement, Lanc 30270? This is the last topic I want to deal with, Mr. Bramall. And could we go to page 8, please? Paragraph 39, you set out that from your perspective, you thought that, I think it might be the next part of paragraph 39 onto the next page. Thank you. You were satisfied with the number of officers working on the CST, as well as their experience and their commitment.
Yep.
I think you then left Lancashire Constabulary in June 2020 on retirement.
Yep.
Was that partly influenced by the fact that in the COVID-19 pandemic, there wasn't really an opportunity for you to do meaningful work with the people you were trying to help?
Yep.
And so when thinking about opportunities to engage AR in this sort of period, if you had begun to engage with him in January 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic would have seriously limited what you could do from March 2020 onwards.
Yeah.
At 41 on page 9, you set out the benefits that you consider preventative policing can bring. As you say, you've not been a member of the force for some 5 years now, and so to some extent this is your view from 2019-2020. But could you just set out for us what the advantages you think there are in preventative policing?
As I mentioned in my statement, it's difficult to quantify preventing something happening. So because figures don't support something that hasn't happened, you can show that there's been a reduction in various things. So that was, for example, You may get somebody who rings the police 10 times a day, 15 times a day. If you reduce it down to 1 time a day, it's a win. So, as I say, preventative, large or small, it may well, it was certainly worthwhile doing.
Thank you. Lastly, Mr Bramall, from me, from the point in early December 2019 when concerns were raised with CST through PC Harrison about AR's conduct, from your perspective, who was responsible for assessing and addressing the risk that AR posed to others?
Prevent?
Did that change at any stage?
No.
And within Lancashire Constabulary, in that period when CST were involved, was there anyone who had that responsibility?
Sorry, we're dealing with AR?
For dealing with the risk posed by AR to others?
No.
I'll just look to see if there's anything from others. Yes, I think so.
Yes, Mr. Whitley.
Thank you. Mr Bramall, just one very brief issue from me. So the strategy meeting that you've been asked about, 17th of December, we know from the note that FCAMS, the Forensic Children and Adolescent Mental Health Service, were not in attendance at that. Are you able to help us as to why that might be?
Sorry, no recollection.
Okay. Given what the evidence you've given about the risk and the perception that we can see from the documents we've been shown about concerns over mental health or developmental disorder, and what FCAMS is for, would you not have expected them to have been present at that meeting?
It would have been useful if they had been.
Yes. And finally, in your view, whose responsibility was it to identify and invite relevant agencies to that meeting?
It was Lancashire Social Services who was doing the organising.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Whitley. Mr. Bramhall, thank you very much for your evidence.
Thank you.
You're now free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should we take the next witness after lunch?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Goss? Should we sit then again at 1:55?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Rise.